What's going on, guys? We are going to change it up a little bit today. We're going to get out of the simulator and not talk so much swing mechanics. Going to obviously get out onto the course, talk a little bit more course management and course strategy. So we're going to play a couple of holes here. We are going to talk mainly about aim points, kind of why I'm hitting different shots at different points and kind of why I'm choosing certain clubs off the tee. This is really where you start saving shots. You don't have to have a perfect golf swing to improve your scores. A lot of times, even as a +4, +5 handicap, I hit very few shots exactly how I want to, but I know how to kind of miss in the right spots, and that's what I'm going to try to teach you guys today. So first hole, not a whole lot to this one strategy-wise. We have a 480 par 4 that is pretty dead into the wind, so not a fun hole to start on. But if we are looking at the trouble that is in play here, we have water down the left side, which should not be an issue to carry. And then we have bunker over here on the right-hand side. Trees in the distance are out of bounds or hazard, kind of on the very far left side here. But back into the wind, can't get to those, so we are just gonna aim this down the left center, try to play a little cut, and try to avoid that bunker. So a little pull draw, little stiff swing out of the car, but that is not going to hurt me. Avoided the bunker, should catch the left edge of the fairway there. 228 yards left. This is a beast of a hole. When I'm looking at this, the first thing I look at is where's the pin. So I know this pin is in the back of the green. There's a little dip off the back edge that runs away. Long is dead. I do not want to be long. So when I'm looking at this, 228, I really want to try to hit this shot about 220, a little bit back into the wind, have 4-iron. Not sure if this can get there, but it guarantees I do not go long. Bunker on the right hand side, so I'm going to favor sort of front left of this green. If it's short, can have an easy chip back up to this thing. I'll go a little bit. Hit it about as good as I could, falling just right of the pin. Kind of just middle of the green, so lost it a little right. If I aimed right at that pin, that's in the bunker, so that's a good shot. I'll take that all day. Obviously, very happy with this shot. Ended up about 12 feet from 228. Sign me up for that for the rest of my life. I will take that shot. But this is where the aim point was important, because I was ideally, when I was back in the fairway, this is kind of where I was looking, was landing this thing somewhere over in this area, sort of on the short left side of the green. That kind of takes me away from this bunker. But if this is where I was looking to aim, somewhere out in this area, and realistically I landed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps or 5 yards over to the right of my aim point. If I would have gone directly at this stick and missed by 5 yards, I'm starting to get over to the very far corner of this green, starting to bring the fringe into play, which runs down into the bunker. So if I aimed right at the pin, hit that same shot, possibly getting into a little bit of trouble. Because I picked a good aiming spot away from the trouble, I got myself into pretty good shape. Even if it was sort of on accident, I will take it every time. Say I aimed a little bit short left, maybe I mishit it a little bit, and it ends up somewhere down in this position. This is not a hard shot. We have plenty of green to work with. We're chipping back to this green. But if I would have gone aggressively at this pin, trying to fly it all the way there, or if I got aggressive with my aim point, let's take a look at the alternative. If I go 10 feet past this pin, catch this slope and roll down, this is the shot I'm left with. So that is why from 228, I took 4-iron, which I know at the absolute best, if I hit it, it's going about 220. It's not gonna have a chance to get back there unless the greens are firm, landed on a little bit of a downslope, had some things work in my favor there. But that is where if you try to fly it to the pin or try to get aggressive to a back pin, you end up somewhere like this. This is an up and down that's probably going to be less than 20% of the time, versus that short left miss, that is going to be a much easier shot. So that is why you need to club down when you get these back pins most of the time. So when it comes to putting, I don't get super technical. I'm very feel-based. Some players like using the line. I personally do not. Looking at this putt, looks like it's going to break a little bit towards the right at the tail end. Late in the day, greens are a little slow. Gonna play this one about half a ball outside of that left edge, pretty firm. Usually when I get in here, I'll try to get a good picture of the hole in my mind, take a practice stroke, and then I usually will just take a couple looking at the hole just to kind of get my brain to match up with the speed. Step into this and try to hit this thing firm just outside that left edge. All right, we'll take it. Never want to birdie the first apparently, but I will take that birdie all day long. Hole 2, we have a shorter par 4. It's about 340 to the middle of the green. Very narrow. So when I get to a hole like this where I have a short par 4, the first thing I want to think of is kind of where is the trouble and where is the pin location. So when we're looking at this hole, we have trees and OB down the left, especially as you get deep left, and then we just kind of have scattered trees down the right with another hole running parallel to it. So right is the miss here. Out of bounds is always the absolute worst case scenario. So when I'm looking at this and I see that I have out of bounds on the left, I don't want to come over to the right side of the tee box, because now, even if I'm aiming at the middle of the fairway, I'm aiming directly at the OB. Ideally, I want to come over to the far left side of the tee box. Now, if I'm aiming middle of the fairway, I can at least start to creep my aim a little bit further away from that out of bounds. So next, it comes down to, what do you hit off the tee? So the things that are going through my mind when I'm looking at this are kind of wind direction, can I get to the green or not, and again, pin location. So if I have a hole that is straight downwind and it is reachable, I almost hit driver every single time. So that is what's going to lower my stroke average. I know if I can push one up next to the green, I'll take my chances getting up and down or two putting for birdie. So that is where, if it's downwind, driver is the play for me. But this is where the hole is a little bit more back into the wind. So 340, I have no shot of getting there. I cannot hit driver there. If I hit it at my absolute best, probably going to carry it around 290. And that is where I'm going to be left with about 40, 50 yards, kind of depending on the pin location, which is a good kind of way to segue into that. Looking at this pin, I know this pin is all the way on the front of the green. So personally, if I have a 50, 40 yard shot, that is very hard to spin. So I want to have a little green to work with. So if that pin is up front and I have 40 yards, I have almost no green to work with. I'm taking driver out of my hands. I don't want that shot. I do not want to hit a 40 yard shot to a front pin, having to try to spin it. That is not fun to hit. So now it comes down to, do I want to hit something like a 3-wood that lays it back a little more, or do I want to hit an iron? So when I'm looking at the 3-wood, I kind of think, well, why would I hit this? I don't really hit the 3-wood significantly straighter than the driver, so the straight isn't really the issue here. The issue is getting too close to the green, and the issue is I have out of bounds starting to creep in a little bit on that left side. So if I hit 3-wood, that out of bounds still kind of comes in play. And if I don't want to be close to the green, there's no point of hitting this. If you're going to lay up, lay up. So this is where, if I have a hole that I can't reach, I know that pin is up front, I'm taking 4-iron every day, pretty much all the time. I'm going to come over to the left side of this tee box here. I'm going to aim kind of right down the center of the fairway. This pin is pushing, or the wind is pushing this thing a little bit right, so it's going to push it away from the out of bounds. So I like this play. This is going to leave me a nice full wedge shot, and it's not going to bring out of bounds into play long. So that should be perfect. That'll stay up on that high tier on the right side of the fairway. Should be a great look in there. 116 yards left. Like you saw, that pin is all the way up in the front of this green. So we have a bunker on the short left side. Obviously, we want to avoid that. But we do have a tree over on the right side that is overhanging the green just a little bit. So I can't really favor right to get away from the bunker. So with the wedge, this is where I'm more comfortable, pretty much going directly at that pin, or very slightly left of it to make sure I avoid that tree. Wind is pushing this out of the right. 116 front pin. The whole reason I didn't want to hit the driver was because I didn't want to be short of the green. That's still the last place that I would like to be. So I'm going to play this a little bit closer to 120. Try to get past this pin. Greens are softer. If it spins back, great. If not, I'm long and I'm putting back to this thing. So going to aim just a little bit left of this stick and have a 50 degree. Going to hit this fairly hard just to make sure it gets all the way there. So just left of it, wind is pushing that back right, should be just long and spin back to a decent spot. So that is exactly where I was looking. With a wedge, definitely feel a little more comfortable going directly at it, not playing to safe spots like a 4-iron. This is basically the shot we were trying to avoid. You can see not a lot of green to work with, very short-sighted. That is not a fun shot to hit. I'll take the full wedge there for sure. So if I'm measuring this out, we've got 1, 2, 3 and a step, maybe about 10 feet of green to work with before we get to that pin. Trying to spin it that much from about 30, 40 yards usually is not going to go too well. Very dicey shot there, and I took a lot less risk off the tee to get it into a pretty good spot. So I'm very happy with that decision. Have about 18 feet looking at this. Looks like it's going to go just a little bit left early, but it doesn't look like there's a whole much to this. I'm going to play it just about right edge or so. Just pace is going to be the main thing. Just as it works downhill, just trying to make sure it doesn't have too much speed on it. So almost don't want to make this one as bad as that is to say, just because if I start this series out with back-to-back birdies, I'm going to be told these videos are rigged. Oh God. Oof. All right. Take par there. That is totally fine. Third hole that we are going to play is a hard dogleg right par 5. So this hole is going to cut or angle very hard to this right side, longer hole around 570 yards. So this is where I'm having the discussion kind of in my head, what do I want to do off the tee? And that's where I really have to plan on what do I want to do on the second shot. So this is where if we look over to the left side, I have trees that come into play at around 260 yards, but the hole pushes hard this direction. So those trees are angled. So if I'm going to hit driver, I have to cut this thing around the corner. If I hit driver straight, it's gone. It's hazard and I have to drop up there. So this is where I don't want to get stuck in between. I'm either hitting driver because I'm planning on getting there in 2, or I'm hitting something that I know for a fact can't get to those weeds on the left. So 3-wood puts me in no man's land, because if I hit the 3-wood, I can't get to the green in 2, but if I hit the 3-wood, the stuff on the left is still in play. So there's not really any point to hit this. So that club is going to be out. So now I'm trying to decide, lay up, go for it. That's where I look at wind direction. If I have wind pushing this direction, that is going to make it harder for me to cut it, and my second shot is going to be longer. Probably can't get there. Driver would not be the play. I would take 5-wood, lay it up, make it a 3-shot hole off the tee. There's no reason to hit driver here and bring all the risk into play if you're just going to plan on laying up anyways. So the wind today, fortunately, is pushing this direction. It's working a little bit more out of the left, so it's going to help a cut and it's going to shorten the hole. So this is where I am going to take the driver and I'm going to try to cut it around the corner. If it goes straight, I've got to drop up there, but this is where I am going to plan to really cut one. So personally, I tee the ball very low when I try to hit that kind of slap cut shot, but I'm going to try to take this one, start it just left of this tree line and peel it right around this corner here. So it's cutting, that should be fine. Very quickly, I do want to shout out my friends over at Stitch Golf. They make fantastic golf bags. Shirts are great. They are very stretchy, lightweight, tons of different designs, and they make a medium large option if you find yourself to be kind of an in-between size. They have travel bags. If you use code BryceCope24, BryceCope is going to be all caps. That'll take 20% off any order, no minimum for the rest of the year. So definitely go check them out. I've got 282 yards left, so this is going to be a huge ask with the 3-wood. Ball is a little bit down below my feet, so a little bit of an awkward shot here. This pin is all the way on the left side of the green, so with that, I do want to favor right. If I miss it right, I have a lot more green to work with when I'm chipping, versus if I miss it left, going to be a little bit more short-sighted. With this ball being below my feet, a lot of times, especially with a wood, this ball wants to kind of push with the slope and fall a little right. So what I'm going to do is pretty much aim directly at this stick, and then I'm hoping that slope is going to push it right just a little bit, and this will miss just short right of the green, if anything. Wind right now is a little bit down, so that is going to help, but definitely going to have to get all of this to have any chance of getting there. Oh, that came out a little thin, did not stay down on that too well, but missed in a good spot. So that with this shot, the green is running away from me, so I do have a 60-degree in my hand just to give myself a little bit of extra loft. And this green is sloping very hard from right to left. So the goal with this is going to be to try to land this about 10 degrees on and try to get this ball to kind of take the slope down into the pin over on the kind of at the bottom of that funnel there. So going to aim out to the right side here and just try to hit a little bit more of a mid-flighted shot, really not trying to launch this into the air too much and let it run out down that slope. So stuck it into the ground a little bit. That is very muddy and a little into the grain. So did not quite get down there, not a very good shot there, but have a okay look for birdie. I would say calling this an okay look for birdie was probably being generous. This is probably the last spot I wanted to leave that chip. I would have much rather have ended up somewhere down here, so I'm putting back up the hill. So I've left myself with a pretty big swinger, breaking very hard from right to left, and it's going to be down the hill. So greens aren't super quick, but it's going to be quicker. So when I get these big breaking putts, my goal is really to kind of find where I think the apex of the break is going to be. So it's got to be somewhere up in this vicinity. So going to have to throw this one very far out to the right and try to get it to work in. Sometimes when I have these big breakers, what I'll try to do is find what I think the front of the hole is. So I think if this ball is coming in from the angle I want it to, this is really going to be kind of the front of the hole, right in through here. So I definitely need to throw this thing very far out to the right and let that slope bring it back down. So again, not a great look after the drive. You hate to see that, but it does happen, unfortunately. got it out there a good ways. We'll see if it dives and catches a piece. That thing was moving. I can't even be mad about that. If that didn't catch the hole, that was probably going 6 feet past. So I will take it. That is a good break. That was not a bad one. So somewhat disappointing par after the tee shot. But I hope you guys enjoyed these playing lessons. Going to continue to try to do these to get away from the swing mechanics and things like that. So of course, swings need fixing, but we don't want to be out there thinking about a million things in the swing all the time. And this is a great way to kind of manage your way around the course. So I will keep these videos coming.